Hi everyone, Anton here again, and welcome to day 3, module 3 of the dropshipping mini course. In this video, I'm going to keep it pretty brief, but I'm just going to go over some of the benefits of owning a dropship business, and I'm also going to talk about some of the things that maybe aren't so great about it. I think it's very important that you do watch this video, just because it's important to really review every business model you might be considering right now. Maybe you're still thinking of importing, maybe you're thinking of private labeling, maybe you're thinking of selling on eBay or Amazon or whatever it may be. I think it's important that you know what could really be beneficial if you decide to dropship and what could be maybe not so great about it. So let me go through this list here that I created. The first benefit, and probably the one that's most important to me about dropshipping, is the location independence that comes along with it. Right now, when I'm recording this video, I am actually in Vietnam. I'm living out in Southeast Asia. Last year, I was living in South America for a bit. Before that, I was back out in Southeast Asia in Thailand, living there. So with these kind of dropship businesses, you really can live and work from wherever you want. I mean, it could be somewhere in the States. If you're from the UK, you could stay there. We have plenty of people that are successful in Australia who are living there. But if you want to build a business that allows you to work from anywhere and really just be free to travel and work as you please, then dropshipping, in my opinion, is much better than private labeling. It's much better than importing. It really allows a level of location independence that not many of these other business models do. And that's why my main course, my main coaching program is called Dropship Lifestyle, because of that location independence. Another benefit, and this one really applies to everyone, whether you feel like traveling the world or not, there's no inventory costs. So when you're starting with dropshipping, you're not laying out any money for inventory. And obviously, when you're a retailer, inventory is your biggest expense. You need products to sell. But with dropshipping, you don't. You need approvals with suppliers who have products to sell. So a huge benefit is you're not laying out any money up front for inventory. You only pay for items after you sell them to begin with. So one of the biggest benefits, no inventory costs. There's also no warehouse costs. Now, if you realized in some of my earlier videos, I spoke about how I actually got started with e-commerce by importing. So when I first started, I actually had these inventory costs and I had warehouse costs. I was spending tons of money every month to store my products. It's not cheap. But if you work on the dropship business model, you're not paying for this. Someone else is. All of your suppliers have their own warehouses. Many of them will have multiple warehouses, and they're paying to store these items. So it's another cost that is not on your shoulders, something you don't have to worry about when starting out. Another benefit is no handling returns. And this might be a little misleading. If you ship an item to a customer, or I should say if your supplier ships an item to a customer and they want to return it, you still will have to tell them where to return it to, and you'll have to go back and forth with emails with them or maybe a phone call. But these items are not coming to you. If you're running one of these dropship businesses, you're not going to get boxes showing up at your house that your customers want to return. They're going to be shipped back to your supplier, and then based on the policy of that supplier, you'll get your refund, or they'll ship the customer a new item. But it's not going to be showing up at your warehouse or at your house with tons of inventory that has been returned that you don't know what to do with. So one thing that I go into detail with in Dropship Lifestyle is how to find suppliers with low return rates. So ideally, you won't even have to deal with emails about returns. But if anyone ever does want to return anything, don't worry about it. It's not going to show up wherever you are in the world. It's going to go back to your supplier, and you don't have to deal with trying to sell a used item or anything like that. Another benefit, and this, if you're really planning on getting into e-commerce in a massive way, and I'm talking about building high 7-figure or 8-figure business, then one of the biggest benefits to you for dropshipping is that you can gather data while getting paid. So let's just say, for example, one of the examples that I give in Dropship Lifestyle is chandeliers. Let's say you want to sell lighting fixtures or chandeliers. And let's say you know that you want to be the importer, you want to build a brand, you want to create your own product line. Okay, that's great. And let's say you have even money to invest in that now. Well, before you just kind of throw money at it and have products manufactured and start trying to sell them, I would still recommend that you start a dropshipping business. This way you could actually be marketing and selling other people's products and knowing what sells. So if you want to sell, let's again just say chandeliers, instead of trying to manufacture your own brand, create your own products and learn that way, learn by selling other people's products. Not only will you profit from it, but you'll get all this data to know what product types sell, what price point works the best, what features do the customers in this niche most want, and you'll get some great data that you can use when you're actually building up your importing business or building your own brand. So huge benefit, gathering data while getting paid. Another huge benefit is it's very easy to scale this. So what I mean by that is grow it. Let's say you start your first dropship store and you're doing $100,000 a year in sales. Well, if that's from one store, it's very easy to build multiple stores that create that same type of income. So you could do this over and over and over again. I always do recommend starting with one store so you could really learn the process, go through it, and master it. But after you do it one time, it's very easy to do over and over and over again. So a very easy business to scale. Now, another huge benefit of building a dropshipping store is that you're building a real asset. So let's just say you're considering various business models right now, maybe affiliate marketing, maybe writing ebooks or something like that. The thing that, in my opinion, could provide you with the most value as far as something that you could sell is building an e-commerce store, and specifically a dropship store. Now, when I first started with this business, I didn't realize it, but they actually become very valuable to a lot of people. There are a lot of buyers out there that are looking for profitable e-commerce stores, and especially dropship stores, because basically these buyers could just plug themselves into your business. They could buy it from you and be making money the next day without having to take over your inventory or take over your warehouse. And to give you an idea of what these sell for, let's say at the low end, you build an e-commerce dropship store that's making you $1,000 a month profit. So something that I think everyone could pretty much wrap their heads around. And while I do have much bigger income goals for everyone that joins my dropship lifestyle coaching program, let's just say you built a store that makes you $1,000 a month profit. Again, very, very reasonable, very attainable. That store to a buyer is worth $20,000. So that is what I mean here when I say building a real asset. You could build a store that isn't that big at all, that's making a moderate $1,000 a month net profit, and you could turn around and sell that asset for $20,000 through a number of different website brokers that I do recommend in Dropship Lifestyle in my coaching program. So huge asset. Now let's talk about some of the drawbacks or some of the negative things about owning a dropship store when compared to something like owning your own brand, so your own brand of products. The first off is smaller margins. So obviously the profit margins when you're selling someone else's products are going to be less than if you create your own products. If you go to China, let's say, and have your products manufactured, and then you have a warehouse, you can negotiate better deals for the product price because you're having everything done. You're doing a lot more work. You're taking on a lot more of the responsibility, but your profit margins will be higher. So with dropshipping, there are smaller profit margins than with having your own brand. This isn't always true, but overall it is true. To get into the exact numbers of what the profit margins usually look like, just check back in future videos because we are going to cover that in this mini course. Another thing that's not so great about dropshipping, and in my opinion is probably the biggest negative, is that you have no control over inventory. So what that means is, let's say you have one supplier whose products sell so well on your website, you're making great money with them, and it's a great partnership, it's a great business relationship. Well, what happens if that supplier runs out of stock? What if they sell all of those items? Well, that means customers are still going to want to order from you, but you can't fulfill these orders. So you're basically going to lose money in this situation. Well, you're not going to lose money. You're not going to make money. You're going to lose potential money because you have no control over the inventory, and because maybe your suppliers aren't so great about managing inventory and keeping every item in stock. This is something that great suppliers do know how to deal with, but it probably is something you'll run into at least a few times if you decide to get into dropshipping. You'll run into suppliers who don't have great inventory management and who do run out of stock, and it just leads to kind of lost sales that you could have. So when you own your own brand, if you are good with cash flow, if you can manage cash flow, then you should always have items in stock that sell. So that's a negative of dropshipping. You have no control over the actual inventory and what your suppliers keep in stock and at what times. The last thing that I could really think of, and I'm sure there are some more, but the last thing that I could really think of as a negative when it comes to dropshipping is the increased risk of competition. So if you create your own brand, let's go back to that chandelier niche, and you make whatever it's called. Let's say in my situation, it was Anton chandeliers. No one else can go out and create Anton chandeliers because that's my company, that's my brand. When we're dropshipping, we're selling other people's brands that are looking to get more retailers. They want retailers that could sell their products. So the way that we find these suppliers, the way that we find these competitors, we're basically going out and trying to take market share, and it will happen that people do the same to us. So it's competitive, but like I've said in earlier videos, if it wasn't competitive, it would probably mean there wasn't money to be made. If there's no competition, it just means the market's not there. So it's definitely a drawback, but again, if you find a niche with no competition, it's probably not a good thing. So those are my three real negatives when it does come to drop shipping, but obviously I'm overlooking all of them because of my lists of the benefits. And in my opinion, obviously I would recommend drop shipping. It's what I recommend to family and friends. It's what I teach to people because it works, and it's a great way to build really a location independent business for not so much money that could have a huge return and that could become a huge asset. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a little bit more about drop shipping. And as always, I will be back tomorrow. In module 4, I'm going to talk about, if dropshipping works and if it's actually a proven model. I'm going to talk about how much time and energy and effort it actually requires if you want to get started. And I'm going to give you some actual numbers when it comes to margins. So what kind of profit margins you're looking at. So I will see you tomorrow. And if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reply to the email that this video was linked from. As always, I'm happy to help. Thank you.